Hey, everybody, this is the Ads with the Twang podcast. I'm your host, Ben Blackman. On this episode, we're going to talk about Facebook ads versus YouTube ads. Which one's better for you? Here comes episode 131. All right, let's go ahead and talk about it. Facebook ads versus YouTube ads. I get asked this all the time. Should I do YouTube ads or should I do Facebook ads? And I'm going to save you the suspense, and the answer is probably 99% you should use Facebook ads first. But why? Why should you use Facebook ads? And is that really true? Is Facebook ads really going to be a better fit for you than YouTube ads? Look, both platforms still work. Both platforms are great at getting leads in, and neither one of them's dead or even close to being dead at all. I hear people saying that almost every year, and it's just not true. It's kind of like saying email's dead. And here it is. I've been using email for 30 years, and it still works. I don't know what to tell you. If it's dead, it's dying a slow death. And maybe that's what's going to happen. But Facebook and YouTube ads are essentially the same way. It's just that they work very differently and require a different skill set. Rare is the occasion where I've seen somebody take a Facebook ad, put it on YouTube, and it work, and vice versa. It's just because the nature of the platform is different. The mindset of the person viewing is different. You may be getting in front of the right people, but they don't consume the same way. And a lot of people tend not to take that into account because they're trying to keep things simple and just get stuff done. And I appreciate that. I'm all about keeping it simple. But with Facebook, I think it's just a lot easier to get started, and it may just be about all the support that's out there. I also do find Facebook's or Meta, whatever, their interface to be easier to deal with than Google. I never have enjoyed Google's interface. I've always thought they've just really dropped the ball on that, and they would probably get a lot more people running ads if they made that a lot simpler to use, but they certainly haven't asked me. So Facebook has a much lower barrier to entry, meaning you can run $5 a day ads. You can do the same thing on YouTube, but it just doesn't work the same way. You need more data to come through with YouTube. So trying to run a real low budget ad is almost never helpful. So with Facebook, that's not true. You can do $1 a day really and see some kind of result. The other thing has to do with targeting. So one thing that's a little tricky is that with Facebook, the targeting's become very homogenized. You know how they've removed a lot of these individual interests in favor of kind of grouping people together in the name of privacy or whatever it is that they're doing. And so that has made it more difficult to get in front of enough of the right people. So if you're in a super narrow niche, that's really makes it harder in a lot of cases. And so Facebook's solution to that is well, let the pixel figure it out. Let the algorithm figure it out, which sounds good, except you have to put a fair amount of money in there to get it figured out. So that's kind of the tricky part. But even that being said, and let me just say this. So you're creative with Facebook, and this is true with YouTube as well, but your creative with Facebook has become way more important than it used to be. So it used to be kind of a spray and pray thing would work, which I've never really done that, but a lot of people do, and that's kind of what they used to teach, just kind of throw a bunch of stuff out there. Now you want to be very methodical with your creative, and you want to make sure that it's very on point and going to speak to your ideal audience and almost in a sense repel people who would not be a good fit. So I think we spend a lot of time focused on who it will fit and not a lot of time trying to repel people who it won't. And you really need to do both. So targeting is still really strong, especially for coaches and course creators and stuff. You can still sell every day. It still works just fine. People will come in and out, and things will work for a while and they won't, and vice versa. It happens like that. It's also really good for list building, low ticket offers. Like I run a low ticket offer, get sales every single day. Running low ticket offers, profitable every day. So it does work. I don't know why people say it doesn't. It absolutely does. Lead magnets are just really good. It's a good place to pick up a lot of leads, and it's a good place to establish authority because you can give yourself that, wow, she's everywhere or he's everywhere kind of vibe, because you can show ads for such a low cost and you can retarget. It's just not complicated to retarget on Facebook. The other thing with Facebook is you don't have to be on camera, right? You can do B-roll footage. B-roll is great and it works really well. If you don't want to do video at all, you can do images. So right now, even on one of my low ticket offer I was just talking about, I've been testing it was actually some B-roll footage, which I thought was great. And my click-through rates on it were phenomenal, like 6%, 7%, really good click-through rates. And then I decided to test just some text over a plain background with a compelling question, and my click-through rates on it are about half. But when I look at the conversion rate on the sales page, it's like double with just the text over the image, text over the background. So it doesn't really matter that my click-through rate was really good. And that's what happens is a lot of Facebook experts and stuff will focus on metrics that don't matter, because in the end, you're not getting more sales. So you have to be very methodical about this and just pay attention to what's really making the difference, what's moving the needle and what's not moving the needle. And what is the needle? Right? Is the needle you got more clicks, or is the needle you got more sales? I think that's a no-brainer. So let me just kind of go ahead and jump into YouTube a little bit. But something that's kind of cool about it is that viewers tend to have a higher intent because they're actively searching for solutions a lot of times. It's just a huge search engine, so they're looking at videos, and then your video pops up over that one. So they have some kind of intent out there. And in a lot of niches, there's less competition, and mainly that's just because people don't understand the platform and they don't take time to get to know it and how it works. And so then if they even find something that works, they don't keep up with it because it changes. Just like Facebook, it changes. Now, the one thing I will say is that obviously, I shouldn't say obviously, but YouTube's best for people who are comfortable on camera. And you might say, what about AI? Why can't I do AI? There's a couple inherent problems with that. One is that if you're a coach, you don't want to use AI because you want them to see you and get to know you, to build know and trust with you. Because if you don't, you're going to lose them at some point. Once they figure out that the person that was on the video wasn't the same as the person who's actually on their profile, then it's just not going to work out. And that trust factor is going to be eroded. See, at least as of right now, AI doesn't have that trust factor for you. So, people assume that if you're using AI, I don't say they assume, but people often think that if you're using AI, there's something shady there, right? Now, it's mostly by demographic, right? The older people think that, the younger people don't. But in general, that's kind of where we are with it. So it's better if you want to use yourself in YouTube. And it works really well for coaches and course creators. YouTube ads is really a fantastic way to get leads and get people in. I love it. But again, it usually requires a bigger budget. So a lot of times you really need to be able to spend $50, $100 a day for at least 90 days. If you're not willing to put in that, and that's no guarantee. That's not a guarantee it's going to work. That's just what your commitment level has to be. And so a lot of people, they don't understand the numbers of it, because they might look at that, and I've had this happen many times with clients, is I'll say, hey, you need to spend $100 a day. I'm like, great, that's fine, but when can we cut that back? Well, if you're coming at it from that mentality, that's completely wrong. The goal should be to spend, you're doing so well that you're spending more, not how soon can I cut it back. So if you're already thinking, how much can I cut it back to, then don't do it. Okay, stick with Facebook and don't do it. So my straightforward advice really is, if you're new, especially if you're new, just start with Facebook. Just start with Facebook. Once you have success there, once you've maxed it out and you're ready to, and I hate this word, scale, I would rather use the word create more consistency. Then you want to add in some YouTube ads. And don't overthink it. If you're like, yeah, but you know what, my audience is really on YouTube. Okay, fine. Use YouTube, but pick one and stick with it until you figure it out. What doesn't work is hopping back and forth. That does not work. And in my agency, what actually happens is when a client comes in, we actually set up them for both Facebook and YouTube, even though we only focus on one. In other words, we focus on Facebook first, but we have all the tracking and stuff set up for YouTube so that we can immediately switch over to YouTube and already have data having flowed in to Google so that they know what's going on. So hopefully that makes sense as well. But you obviously don't have to do it that way. I'm just telling you that's how we set it up in my agency. All right. That's really about it. Both platforms work. Neither one of them's going to work if you skip the basics and don't learn how they work. And nothing's going to fix an offer that stinks. It doesn't matter if it's on Facebook or YouTube. If your offer stinks, that's not going to work. Or if you can't reach your ideal audience. So you've got to be able to reach your ideal audience. And you've got to have a willingness to test. Okay, I hope that was helpful, and I'll catch y'all on the next episode. See you then.